Робърт Уилсън, един от малцината истински визионери в театъра на нашето време. Артист във всичките смисли на тази дума. Режисьор, хореограф, художник, дизайнер на осветлението, видео-артист, драматург, перформер, архитект. Със сигурност гуру за мнозина. Със сигурност създател на театър на едно ново, по-високо ниво.
You've been staging all around the world. How come you ended up in Bulgaria producing The Tempest?
Well, I'm here and I'm directing The Tempest because I was asked to come here, and I don't know your country, and I don't know the culture, I don't know the language, and so it was interesting for me. And I will in October be 80, and I've been fortunate for the last 50-something years to work all over the world. I've worked in the Far East, the Middle East. I've worked in throughout Europe and North America and Latin America. It's a new challenge for me to work with a culture that I don't know and a language I don't know. I think it's something that always interests me about my work. My work is very visual, and I think that's one reason I've been fortunate to work all over the world, because a visual language is understood by anyone. So I often stage a production without any text, without any sound, so that visual experience is often done first. I do lighting, I do stage sets, I do movements, and later I add audio elements. A visual language, if I'm in Africa, if I'm in China, if I'm in Brazil, it can be understood by anyone. It's a universal language.
It should be very rewarding.
A visual language can be understood by a child, someone from the street, someone with no cultural background, no education, or someone with a high degree of education. There's a universal language and our visual way of seeing the world. And what I often have found is boring about theater is that the visual book is an afterthought. So you write a play, you design a play, and you stage it, and then you design the stage set, which they call decoration. So it's a decoration for a play. But the visual is added later. I start with the visual. I start with light first.
Right. Why is it that you chose, you picked up The Tempest? What is it about that play?
I choose works, well, first of all, I was asked to do it. That's why I'm doing it. But I choose works because I do one thing and then I do something completely different. So I do, what do I do this year? I do Puccini. I'm doing Turandot. And so I do many, many different things. I have an exhibition of video portraits in Berlin after I finish here. I choose things sometimes because they're very different from one another. One season, some years ago, I did Virginia Woolf, I did Shakespeare, I did Chekhov, I did William Burroughs and Tom Waits. So they were very different from one another. I did Luigi Nono, the composer, an Italian composer, who's interested in very quiet music. And right after that, I did Lou Reed. Now, Lou Reed likes loud rock music. So they're completely different. And I began to understand Lou Reed better after having done Luigi Nono, who was very quiet and meditative. And Lou I began to appreciate.
You like the counterpoint.
Yeah, and so I'm different. I'm always the same, but I'm different with my partner. to the people with whom I'm collaborating. So to go from Shakespeare to Heiner Mueller to William Burroughs. I mean, it's completely different from Shakespeare, but it's always the same because I'm the same body, the same signature. But my work is different with the people with whom I'm collaborating with, whether it's Shakespeare, William Burroughs, Tom Waits.
How did you cast the actors here for The Tempest?
I looked at the actors from the company, and I liked that this one's a little fat, this one's thinner, this one has more deep voice, this one has a higher, small voice. And so it's like putting together a family. And so that you choose people for various reasons. Basically, I choose people for who they are as people. Just looking at them. I mean, if I look at you and I look at this cameraman, it's already a very complicated story. And then I look over to my assistant, who's 22 years old, that's another story. If I put the assistant, who's 22, sitting beside you, already it's a very complicated story. And it's already there, who you are naturally. So you just choose people and how they complement each other.
Are they so far, the actors, I mean, acting up to your cast?
Yeah, I mean, the way of performing here is, I think my way of directing is very different from what they normally do, but it's not just in Bulgaria, in my country as well. I mean, if I look at what's happening in the theater in the United States, it's, you know, all naturalistic, it's all psychological, it's all whatever, all these things that I hate. And maybe that's why I did what I'm doing, because, so I don't know, it's very strange. I work a lot in Europe, and they tell me in Europe, they said, oh, you're so American. And now when I work in the United States, they said, oh, you're so European. I don't know, I am who I am, and that's it, I don't know. I never studied theater. If I had gone to school in Yale University, which is a great school of drama, I would never be doing what I'm doing. If I'd gone to study lighting, I would not be doing what I'm doing. So I learned it by doing it. You know, you learn to walk by walking, and you learn to walk by falling down. You can talk about it, you can read books about it, but you've got to get up on your own 2 feet to try to walk. So you learn by doing.
Can we say that you are rediscovering old classical plays?
Well, I think that's...
As your label, you probably...
I always hate the word avant-garde. You know, they say, oh, I'm so avant-garde. But the avant-garde is rediscovering the classics. And Socrates said the baby is born knowing everything. Wow. And it's the uncovering of the knowledge in life, by living life, that we rediscover what we're born knowing. And the baby is born knowing already the classics. The baby is born dreaming with the eyes closed and moving rapidly, which is a dream state of mind. What is the baby dreaming?
Is that the way you go while directing?
Well, I don't like to talk about things. I got some of the production team, they wanted to discuss everything. I said, I don't want to talk about it, I'm going to do it. If I talk about it, I can't do it. So if I get some idea in my head, I try to make the idea in my head on stage. But if I look at you and the cameraman and the assistant, then I find a direction. But if I sit in my hotel room and try to imagine, I could never imagine what the three of you look like together, or how you would speak together, how you would walk together. So I've learned in my old age from my work, it's better not to have any idea. You start with a blank book, and then you fill in the book.
But you probably have some surprises up your sleeve to surprise the Bulgarian audiences and
Almost
yourself.
80 years old, I have a lot of tricks up my sleeve. You know, I've been around, this old dog has been around for a long time, so.
How do you imagine the Tempest on Bulgarian stage? Like something you've never done before?
The Tempest is something that I'm just discovering how to do it, and I'm not so far along, but when I do it, I still don't know what it is. I mean, the reason an artist should work, or the reason ideally that I work, is you say, what is it? And if you say what it is, forget it. You know, so you don't know, I don't know what I'm doing, and I don't really want to know. If I know, then there's no reason to do it. The reason you work is to say, what is it? And even when you finish your work, if you say, well, that's what it is, it's finished. But if you say, I don't know what it is, you leave it with a question. And then you continue to think about it. Why is Shakespeare still performed all over the world? Shakespeare could never understand what he wrote, completely. Sure, he had some ideas, but it's full of ideas. So that you can think about it one night one way, and the next night you can think about it another way. You can read Hamlet one way, and a year later think about it in a completely different way. It's full of meanings. That's why interpretation is so ridiculous to me in the theater. Interpretation is something that we experience. It's something full of time. So they want to update Shakespeare and put it in a supermarket. You can't update Shakespeare. It's a classic. It's full of time. And if you put it in a period, the time is limited. So it's not timeless, but full of time. It's something to reflect on. So my work is more Zen-orientated. So it's full of meanings, and you can reflect on it. Each day, each moment in a different way. If we just take this moment, that moment will never, ever be the same again. Never. So the only thing that's constant in life is change.
You've come to Bulgaria with all your team.
I can't do
Professionals and
everything
others.
myself, you know. So I need a strong technical director. I can't remember what I've done this morning, this afternoon, so I need someone that can make notations. And I work a lot on light, but I can't work a computer. So all departments are equally important, and it's a collaboration.
What future you expect to have from your
my work
productions?
is, I'm not like Shakespeare, I'm not like, my work will never be seen again when I die. It's finished. So my work, it was a product of our time, and I don't want to, it should not be repeated. It was something very personal, something I did myself. So it's different than, say, Shakespeare wrote a play that could be performed in the future. My works were never meant to be performed after I'm no longer living.
Well, future is not ours to see. I wish you best of luck.
Okay, thank
you
you
very much.
Thank you.